May I just remind people that what I'm going to say in my monologues is purely an opinion. It does say that on the thumbnail. I'm not instructing people. I'm not telling people what to do or how to think. Every now and again, I get people saying, oh no, you've told us to do such and such. I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm merely expressing an opinion. Yesterday, I went to an event. It was fascinating, wonderful event. Loads of people of, well, from the freedom movement, the truth movement, if you like, the looking for a better future movement. People who have noticed that the government has been acting with unusual amount of tyranny. A government, a kind, benevolent government that turns out it's not actually kind, benevolent, philanthropic or anything, and has been passing very much anti-human laws, or rather legislation, acts and statutes, which doesn't really sit well with real men and women. And of course, we all feel, oh, blimey, what are we going to do about this? They seem to be in charge. They've got the thugs dressed up in fancy dress with truncheons and what have you, and even the army at their disposal, and potentially people who've come over in rubber boats. We don't really know. And so we seem to feel very threatened by all of this. And of course, we know that the government in and of itself is being pressured by outside think tanks, people who meet at Davos, for example, in their private jets, making sure that the pilots have not had the medical intervention, because we've seen how many of those pilots are keeling over and not being very well, as indeed has so many people who've taken that medical intervention that was pretty much forced on everybody across the world. One world government there for you, an example of actually something that perhaps is really not what we want. So I went to this event. It was an initiative to show a different way, how we could build a new future using our people to perhaps build new communities and that sort of thing. All very laudable in and of itself, and was fascinating to see. But as I watched around the room, and the man who'd brought the idea forward was saying, we need the business people, we need the entrepreneurs, we need people to set up new businesses that are for us, for the I mean, they keep using these very strange to me terms, the sort of, what are they using, like heart community. I don't really understand what that means. It's sort of flowery language to me. And conscious, they were using terms like conscious investors. And I think, well, if you're not conscious when you're investing, you must be asleep. Are they looking for sleeping partners? I'm not quite sure what they mean by all this sort of flowery language. And I know that a number of people will go, oh, Richard, but it's the new language meaning truth and freedom. But I just like to keep things quite basic myself, no disrespect whatsoever. Anyway, the point was, I was looking around the room, and in fact, this is the same whenever I've gone to do my talks anywhere. I've looked around the room, and the demographic seems to be very much me reflected back. People in their perhaps late 40s, 50s, and upwards to their 80s and possibly 90s. Of a certain demographic, and you think, blimey, are these the only people? Is this the generation of the past who's left here to pave the way for the future? Where's the young people? Where are the young dynamic people who are pushing back against the anti-government? Or have they all been swallowed up by the propaganda that mainstream media or the various different YouTube channels and Odyssey channels, Rumble channels, or are they just stuck behind other screens just playing games and going, no, 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 it's all a conspiracy. None of what you talk about is true. Is it left, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, is it left to those people who still have one foot in the old analog way, who knows what life was like before the digital revolution, and one foot in the digital revolution, who can see the two things and think, what the hell are we going to do? Yes, we can take advantage of some of the new, but I don't like the surveillance, I don't like the control, the data harvesting and all of that. But I do like that older thing where we spoke to one another in a common language in real time, but without screens. And maybe there's something that we can bring together that contains real food, organic food, healthily grown, locally grown, seasonally grown, and we can do things with our hands, craft things, making and that sort of stuff that means something to me, gives me a sense of purpose, gives me a sense of being here, why I'm on this planet in the first place, as a nameless spirit inside a physical body, enjoying the wonders of this world that some people seem to be destroying left, right and centre. What are we going to do? And I looked at these people thinking, is it left to us? And if so, then searching for these young dynamic businessmen who are going to invest in these heart projects with conscious whatever it is that they're doing, I couldn't see it. And I thought this, in a way, is perhaps wishful thinking. However, if you think then, well, what are we going to do? It's just left to us old farts like myself and millions of others. What are we going to do? And of course, what we do, it is quite simple. We change the way that society, or that's a bad word, society, because that is part of the legalese, isn't it? We change the way that the lands are administrated or governed or are ruled, if you like. We've seen how the old system of ruling with legislation, acts and statutes has been. We've seen how penal that has been. We need to be able to change that. And we are the ones that can do it because we have insight. We are of a certain age. We may not be the young 20, 30-year-old dashing businessman with great ideas and 30, 40 years of passion to drive into new businesses. I think they will come, but we can change the system. And I've been thinking, how do you do this? And then somebody passed me a piece of paper and everything clicked into my mind. I just want to read the first paragraph. I haven't read the whole thing, but I know this in my heart. And I've been talking about this in some of the interviews, and you will have heard many of the people that I've spoken to from the lawful world, if you like, have been mentioning this, and this is the way we do it, and we have to implement this because this is how we will change everything. Okay, so here it is. I want to read this and then I want to tell you about an event that's happening that you can go to and find out for yourself if it will work. So here's the Our Right, it's called on this piece of paper, Our Right to Trial by Jury, a jurisdiction in which the people decide not just if someone's got a thing wrong, they've done something criminal. Where's the victim? Oh, there's the victim who's brought a complaint and they've broken the law. Not just that, but the very laws that we have in and of themselves. We, as 12 just men and women, examining the laws that we've got or the legislation that we've got and saying, do we really need it? So trial by jury jurisdiction illustrates our right to trial by our equals and on the issue of whether we can cause a specific unreasonable harm to another human or have, through a careless or dangerous or reckless behaviour, nearly done so, rather than being trialled by a government and according to any more arbitrary rules that it cares to invent, which is the way and the mean to enslave us. And that sort of, for me, I mean, and of course it's going to go on and talk about if we were trialled by our equals, then it follows that we will receive a reasonable, equal, freehold share in the local land and its natural resources, and also in the natural land, in the national land and its national resources. Trial by jury means that we can look at somebody who's brought a complaint. It may be something very simple to start with, a speeding thing. I was driving at 3 a.m, a gantry changed and it went from 60 to 40. And as I was slowing down, I hadn't quite reached 40 yet, but I was in that process. There was nobody about, the road was clear, I could see perfectly, the weather was fine. And I went through this because it changed as I was right on top of it, and snap, a camera took a photograph of me, and as a result of that I am now got to pay £100 or whatever the fee is. Where's the crime? Where's the victim? There is no victim. It is it's nice to have rules and guidance to say drive on the left-hand side of the road. If we all drove on the left-hand side of the road, we're not going to crash into one another if we're coming the other way, because they'll be on their left, we're on our left, and traffic will flow. But a lot of our stuff that's coming down, the nudge towards these 15 cities, it's not so much a nudge these days, it's sort of a demand. The demoralising, stopping from people from travelling in their conveyances, their motor cars, if you like, a number of times across a town. The incessant drive to a net zero and reducing the very gas that we need to live and that grows crops is a nonsense. If we were able, 12 men and women can try these laws as well as any particular crime that comes, we can change things. We can change the way the whole government works. We can oust governments that are just not working for us. We can get rid of these people who are too privileged and feel that they are above the law and are setting laws to keep us captured. Trial by jury is a brilliant way that we, the people, take back control, take back responsibility for ourselves, and chastise and hold to the fire those people who we elect to govern for us some of the bureaucracy that is necessary. But if they step out and start doing things for their own benefit, making money through backhanders by passing legislation that isn't required, we can hold them to the fire. And that's where trial by jury would be so essential. Now, I want to tell you about an event that you can actually go to and see it happening. It's a sort of an experiment in which the Oxford Council, who have brought in the 15-minute city measures, have decided that's going to happen now. They did a trial and they want to make this a permanent feature. Well, people who've been studying and advocating for trial by jury are going to take the council, Oxford Council, in a mock trial and to demonstrate to the public how it might work. Let me read from this leaflet. The event takes place on the 3rd of December. Let me read you what it says here so you get a vague idea. No one is above the law. We're all accountable for our actions and must be honourable in our dealings, causing no harm, injury or loss to another while upholding everyone's inalienable rights of life, privacy and property, travel and speech. That's what we need to do. So in November, despite the protests and the petitions, Oxford councillors voted to make the LTNs permanent. And as a result, the people have suffered job losses, gridlock traffic, business closures, health challenges and huge disruption before the town is becoming a 15-minute ghetto. Well, the highest court in the land is coming. Trial by jury. This is an educational training in Oxford, putting the LTNs on trial. And you can go along. I'll leave a link in the description where it is. I'll leave a link anyway. oxfordisfree.org is the place to go and check it out. And you can see trial by jury taking place. Go along, support everybody. This is, for me, one way that we can actually start to correct the balance. The young people, those dynamic ones with the businesses and energies, once we've changed the laws, once we've brought things back, once we have got that structure back, the older of us, the generation, can show people how a better life can be had, eating more wholesomely, living honourably, challenging some of these nonsense laws that have not been of any benefit, and talking to the younger people who have lost that ability to communicate one another in real life, in real time. The future, I think, is, to use a well-known phrase in advertising, it is bright. We have the potential. The time is now to start keeping ourselves very positive. The nonsense that these think tanks and the evil of the others, their time has been. They're over. It's dead in the water. The dark is being covered in light. We are the chosen ones to do that. We have the experience from the analog past. We can see the advantage of the digital. We can see the disadvantage, and we can get rid of that. We are the ones that can make a big difference. Never feel alone, never feel despondent, never feel we can't do it, because we can, and we already are.